When you were a young man or still a teenager, did you start lifting weights?
Yes, I lifted weights and I was in the turn and swing and I was in pretty good shape. And everybody knew that I was in good shape. And there was a fellow an older fellow, well, he was probably in his mid-50s by then, 60, a good big man. He always wanted to wrestle with me. He had it in his head he was gonna throw me. And I told him, I said, Ernie, I just don't wanna. So he kept picking on me about that. He worked in a local feed mill. And one time I was down there with my feed and I'd have had about enough. So I picked him up and threw him on top of a pile of grain bags. And I never heard that again. But I thought it was funny.
How much weight could you lift?
Oh, I could never lift much. The most I could ever put over my head in a clean and jerk is about 215 or 218 pounds. I was not a weightlifter, but no.
And in addition to working out with the Turners at Turner Hall in Monroe, did you also sometimes go to Turner Hall in Madison?
Once in a while, but not to compete. I just went up there and watched them, and I'd work with them a little, well, you might say uninvited. I'd just step in and do this or that. But we did compete with a club in Milwaukee. Yes. Yes.
And did you also go to the Madison Turner Hall for dances and other social activities?
Dances. That's where I met Wanda.
And about what year was that?
It was in the early 50s.
And Turner Hall it is no longer existing in downtown Madison, but it was just off of East Washington Avenue, about a block. There's a parking lot there.
That is correct.
And Mom lived within walking distance.
That is correct.
And she worked in the Tenney building.
Yes. Yes.
And tell us about the first time that you met her dad, Fred Stetler.
Well, we had never met before. I did not know she was from the Monroe area, although when we did get together and talk, why, I knew exactly where they grew up, down by Browntown on the Davis factory, and her dad made cheese. So we had made an arrangement for our first date, and I was to pick her up at her parents' house in Monroe. So I went over there that evening, and of course Wanda's folks were there, and Albin was there, Uncle Albin. That'd be her mother's brother. Yeah, Wanda's mother's brother. And here the two guys was talking Swiss, which was right up my alley because my parents came from the same place in the old country, and we just had the best time. And these guys got the biggest kick out of me. And the first order of business brought me some white lightning that they had made with their homemade still. And it just took my breath away. And those guys thought that was just absolutely hilarious. But in all the years after that, we got along very well. Everybody got along very well.
And
the biggest deal was, I kept going with Wanda, and we got married, and it could not have been any better. I could not have done any better anywhere.
And Fred Stetler wasn't the easiest person to get along with, and he liked to find fault with everybody. What was the only problem he ever found with you?
The only problem he had with me was I was too honest. And I thought, well, I guess we'll just have to live with that. Yeah, yeah.
And then tell us the story about the crazy deputy.
Oh, well, he was nuttier than a fruitcake.
Okay, what was his name?
Garrett Corman. He was a Monticello man, and I really didn't know what made him tick. And for a while he worked in the sheriff's office in Monroe. Yeah. And he was what do you call them people that are
Germaphobe.
the germaphobe? Yeah, he had to wipe down everything before he sat down and all that before he touched the phone. But anyway, one time Wanda and I and Nancy, we were coming home on a Sunday afternoon from Monticello from Monroe to Monticello back home, and there was a string of cars up the wazoo, 25 miles an hour or so. And we finally got up there, and this Garrett Corman. He was driving, so when somebody violated the law, he was going to arrest them. That was his big deal. So it wasn't just too many weeks later, and the same thing happened. And I told Wanda, I says, if that's Garrett Corman, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get his time. Sure enough, there he was. So I pull in behind him and start blowing the horn. And I blew the horn, and I blew the horn. I drove that man right up the wall. He just about went through the fence. The fence is to get away from me. And then my dad at the time was marshal in Monticello. And the next day this corpsman told my dad, say, I want to talk to you about that son of yours. Yeah, Pa says, I know about it already. You're just lucky Rudy didn't haul you out of that vehicle and pound the piss out of you.